Hi, Kathy here from KathysKuteKreations with week 1 of For the Most Part. You should have had the directions emailed to you if you bought a kit or received one as a prize. Otherwise, you need to purchase it to get it downloaded to your email or sent to your email, and then you download it and print it or look through your email and do it. But anyway, you have 3 sheets. So you have the first sheet here. I'm going to try to do it without the fan blowing all over. I have the fabric sort by week, which is the next one. And I actually copied it on both sides, so I went ahead and redid it so I could show you. And then the fabric sheets. Now, I've already ironed all of my fabric, so we're going to lay it out here. And I'm going to start with A. Now, we don't have the sheet that shows you all of A. That's just an extra thing that Forward Fabric Studio was doing. It's not going to do it anymore, but that's fine. We don't have to follow that. I haven't followed that for a long time, so I'm just following from my fabric sheet here. The first sheet should be good enough for you. I go with the very first dot right here. I take that first one, and then I write it down. I'm going to show you what I write on, so it's like looking at it twice. Let me show you these things right here that came in this little booklet. We got it free. It was advertised for out at work. And I just go ahead and I write on here, which is what I'm going to do. I will write 2.5, 1, because 1 is in, is it 1? Excuse me, 11, I'm sorry. We're going to cut 11 strips, 2.5 by the width of the fabric. That's the first thing we're going to do. I go right beyond that, and where it says subcut, right here, subcut, whatever it has in the parentheses is the number of cuts you need. So you're going to need 31 cuts of 2.5 by 12.5 rectangles. I write 2.5 by 12.5 rectangles on my little piece of paper here, and I'm going to do it so I can show it to you exactly what I'm doing. See if you can read that here. There you go. So you'll have 31 of them. I put that in a circle down here. I put the week that we're going to put them on, and I tell what they are. Then I not only have it on my white piece of paper, but I have it right here so I can stick it on my fabric. This way I've got it, not only did I read it, but I wrote it. And usually if you write something down, you keep it in your memory better than if you just read it and that was it. So that's how I do it to keep myself straight. Then when I get finished, I'll put a little mark, check mark over here that says I've done that row, so I don't go back and accidentally redo it and use up my fabric. Now, as long as it's not in a color, and this is the cream because I'm doing the cream right now, I do not mark the color. I don't put cream or background or A or whatever. When it comes to the colored, then I'll put whatever letter it is because that's what I'll need to remember. Now, that's how I'm going to start out. So let me lay my fabric down. I'm going to cut all of A out first. What I do is I cut the strip, a little extra piece hanging off there so that it's all even from top to bottom. And now I'll start cutting my strips. Remember now, look back at your paper if you have to. Always keep looking back at your paper. Don't worry if you forget constantly. Everybody forgets, okay? You got a whole bunch on your mind. You're probably thinking about something else while you're trying to sew. It's very hard to just devote your thought on sewing if you've got other noises in your house. Believe me, I already know all about that. So we're gonna go back here and we're gonna look and it says, oh, we're gonna cut 11 2.5-inch strips. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to cut 11 of them. Then I'm going to move back my cream fabric, and then I'm going to cut 31 of these. Okay, I'm going to come back, and I don't want anybody panicking yet. So I went ahead, you know, I started showing you that I cut the 11 2.5 by the width of the fabric, which is how wide it was. The next one said, I decided to go ahead and cut them all, okay? So then the next one said 10 3-inch. The very next one says 2 2.5, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. What if I have leftovers from this, okay? Then I really wouldn't need 2. So I'm just going to cut 1, just, you know, just to cut it. Then I went ahead, and then the next one says to cut 9 3.5-inch. So I cut 9, and I laid them like this so that I can see to count them. And then it asks for 4.5 and 5 of them. Well, when I got finished cutting that, not cutting 2 strips, but 1, this is what I have left. There's not a 2.5-inch strip left. Now, I don't know what possessed me not to do the 2.5, two of those, these two here, but something said don't do it. So I didn't do it because I always go with my instincts when it comes to sewing. So I don't have enough to make the second 2.5-inch strip. So I'm gonna think that maybe I'm gonna have enough left over from either this set, or maybe I've got some left over from this set, because everything beyond the first one and the third cut is actually bigger than a 2.5-inch. So if I have anything left over, I will use it if it's needed. But I don't have enough fabric to do it. I don't know if the measurement was off or what, because the amount that I cut off at the very beginning, let me show you. Hold on, I'm gonna bring it up out of the trash can. Here's my sliver here to take off the edge to make it straight. So that wouldn't even add it to that, made 2.5. So I'm just gonna go with the flow and start cutting out the rest of them and find out where I end up with the extra, and I will tell you. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut 31 2.5 by 12.5-inch rectangles. So I'm coming back because this is the strip, the very last strip that I have left over. You're going to use all the strips. It takes 3 cuts out of each strip. This is what you have left over, this size. And then you can use this, or in my case, I'm going to use this one for the other one, and it says we're going to cut 2.5 by 5.5-inch rectangles, and we're going to cut 11 of them. So we'll see how many we get of that. I even start on the 2.5-inch strip of cutting the 5.5. This piece that's left over is, ignore those lights there, a little more than 5.5. Oops, let's go up here to the 5.5. So I'm going to use all my little extras first before I cut into the other strip. I've come back after I went ahead and I cut out all the white fabric to show you I have an extra strip of the largest one that we cut. Okay, just to show you here. Here's the selvage on it. So, and then I even had a little piece here. This is left over. That was from my last cut. I have a strip and a piece of a strip. And then here is one whole strip. And then this is actually the left-hand side that I was done with when I cut all my strips. That was my left-hand piece finished. And then a variety of pieces here. So I had plenty, and I used up my little 2.5-inch. I didn't even need that second one for all the cuttings. So I know at the very beginning it looks daunting, and it looks like you don't have enough of the white, or well, actually it's a cream color. But you do have enough, so go ahead, cut all the rest of yours, and then when you're finished, I'm going to show you my design boards, how I set it up, and I'll show you my leftover fabric from all of it. This will give you an idea of how much you'll have left over. Okay, I'll be right back. I put it in order, so this is the fabric A, the B, and so on like that. So this is the amount that I have left after I've cut out all my pieces. I have a lot of this left. Here, that's the 6.5 by 6.5 inch. And then I'm cutting my binding so that I have it going this direction instead of the strips. So instead of laying it out like this, when I went to cut it, I just turned it and laid it that way and then cut it. I cut off the selvage, and then I just cut my 8 pieces. And it was folded in half, so it's 16 pieces. And then I'll sew it together, because that's the way I want my binding to be. All right, let me show you my design boards now. My board's stacked up. So this is week 2, and all I do is put all of my fabric that we're going to use to do whatever square, rectangle, whatever we're going to make is on week 2. Then I set week 3 on another one. This is a smaller one that I've made. And then 4 and 5 I have on here, and as soon as I finish week 2, I'll put all of them on the smaller boards as I do each week. And that's all I do. I set it aside until I am ready. And what I do here in my sewing room is I will cover it up, so if for some reason my cat gets out and gets up here, she doesn't destroy the piles that I've made. And then I keep baggies, these little quart bags, and whenever I'm done with all my fabric, I slip them in a quart bag. I haven't really had to use anything smaller or bigger at this point. And then I have all my fabric together so that if I'm going to make a pillow, or I'm going to make even a mug rug or anything out of the fabric, or if I want to just design something else, I've got it all together and I know which quilt that it went with. Okay, so that is it for week 1. I hope everybody is catching up today. If not, it won't take you long to do it. I actually split all my cutting into 2 days. So I will see you next week for week 2, and it's the actual putting together of a block or two. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. Welcome to all the new beginner sewings, as well as newcomers to my channel. These kits and quilts are really beginner friendly for all those that have never done it before. It's not a big old challenge. You can watch us on YouTube. Stephanie and I both do the YouTubes for Fort Worth Fabric Studio. And then we have our wonderful quilter. She will quilt up your quilt if you don't have a long arm. I don't, but I normally just do it on my sewing machine. I will get her information right here out of this container so you can see it. Now, I have never used her services, but that doesn't mean she's not any good. Okay, I've heard nothing but praise about her. And that is Laura Bradley. And you can call and talk to her. She's a homebody. She's not someone you can't approach, you know, if you got something specific about your quilt. And she'll always show the designs that she's come up with to do long arm for them. So thanks to Fort Worth Fabric Studio. Thank you for all watching. You can give me a thumbs up if you like, make a comment if you'd like, and I will see you next time. So long, bye-bye.